Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. We are going to watch a team principal press conference, but little information for you. We just missed a little bit beginning of the press conference because of the F3. Don't forget to like the video, comment it, and subscribe to the channel.
Got in the way a little bit, and we've crunched all the data, worked out what the best setup is, best setup for this track. But then again, this morning we were doing a few experiments across the cars. I did manage to run both tyres. I guess everybody lost a little bit of track time because of a couple of red flags, and just trying to get ourselves ready for qualifying in the race.
Let's talk about something that's just happening at Silverstone. The new wind tunnel is on stream, I think, as we speak. Tell us about the advantages that gives you that you weren't getting using the Mercedes tunnel before.
Yeah, it's been a big project. Lots of people working on it, so it's great to see it's now our nominated wind tunnel and doing development work. And it's got some great technology in it. Great technology in the measurement systems and within the model that goes within the tunnel, and just having everything together in one location. The aerodynamicists don't even need to put a coat on to go to the wind tunnel. They just walk through, whereas before it was loading the model into a van and down a bumpy dual carriageway and hoping it was still in the same condition when you took it out the van at the other end. So from a efficiency, but also the challenge that everybody has of trying to understand what goes on with the aerodynamics on track compared with a wind tunnel, compared with CFD, those three worlds that the aerodynamicists battle with. We believe that this new wind tunnel gives us greater understanding, greater mechanisms for understanding the flow physics of the streams going over the car.
Final one from me. What was Adrian Newey's reaction when he saw it for the first time last week?
Yeah, day one we went for a wander without needing to put our coats on into the wind tunnel, and it was great to see him stood in the section, having a look at it, having a look at some of the technology in the model and the measurement equipment. But then he was very quickly back into the engineering office, looking at the 2026 regulations and working out what are the compromises to come up with a fast race car with the new regulations.
Okay, thanks all. Let's open this to the floor. Who's got our first question, please? Ian.
Ian Parks, Racing News 365. Question for you, Fred. Hello. Charles Leclerc yesterday described it as his obsession to become a Formula One world champion. Do you understand the Formula One world champion desire within him? And do you feel that this might be his best chance this season to address that obsession?
Obsession, I'm not sure that is the right word, but for sure, when you are doing this job, that is racing, that he started to race, it was something like 3. That it was 23 years ago. He spent his life on track, and for sure that to have the goal or the target or whatever, or the dream to become world champion is the normal approach. To know if it's for this season or not, I don't know. That it's exactly the same reply as before, but he's doing and he's putting everything to do a good job this season, and I'm sure that he will continue to improve.
Thanks, Fred. Right, next one. Yeah.
I'm sorry, like everyone wants to be world champion, but if is the Ferrari fast, something like that, to be a world champion, I think there is one name to be the world champion this season. And also, I'm sorry for the interruption, but I must do it a little bit, let's say, to interrupt the video.
Oliver Van Brunswick, Rural Sports. Question for James. Just how is the feeling in the team right now? Spirits surely must be high, considering Carlos's integration into the team and the pace shown, no matter how early it is.
Yeah, you summarised it well. It's a team that's been through so much pain. And when I joined a few years ago, you could feel it. I know I'm a man of science, but you really could feel this sort of difficult period that the team had been through. And that's not the case now. But actually, one item that we didn't talk about in there is our future. So it's great what's going on now. this is what I would call almost low-hanging fruit that we're picking up along the way. There's some great things that are happening back in Grove that are more coming online across the next few years. And you can see it in individuals that it's just building this momentum and positive energy. And so what you see today is just a little bit of a fallout for it. But as Fred described, this is an FP1. It's great. It's nice to see, but it's an FP1. Let's wait till qualifying in the race and a few races in, which is also why I'll bring everyone to our future and the destination we're going towards.
Thanks, James. Where are we going next?
Scott Mitchell from the race. Question for James. James, Alex said yesterday that the simulations obviously showed that the car was going to be a decent step faster, but then actually when it ran in Bahrain, it was sort of inviting more confidence from the drivers than last year's car. It sort of implied that the car's actually maybe a little bit faster even than was expected. Is that a fair assessment? And what's brought those gains? Is it anything to do with the more updated Mercedes suspension that you've been able to adopt this year?
I mean, so first of all, I think where the car's moved to, we need to reassess based on a few things, but it's about on where we expected it to be. But what Alex was talking about is one of the aspects is from a driving perspective, it gives them a lot more confidence than last year's car. Formula One's a strange business. There's no silver bullets. There's no one thing that just suddenly switches a car on and makes it better. So the Mercedes rear suspension helps a tiny bit. What we've done over the last few years in terms of developing our tools and systems that produce better vehicle dynamics, better aero, better way of combining the car together is all coming together at the moment, and that's what makes effectively the package better and better. It's really not one area though, it's a culmination of a team that's starting to get strength working together.
Thank you, James. Next one. Yeah, the front.
Ben Waterworth, Ross Sports. Question for Fred. Just how impressed have you been with Lewis fitting in with everything that comes with a Ferrari driver? He seems to really be relishing that. And how good does he look in red?
Sorry. We had 2 months of marketing. I would say that it was a huge wave at the beginning. The most important is to be able to turn this page and to be back to business as usual, and to do the FP1 and the FP2, and it will be a long way. We have something like 150 sessions over the year. That it means that it's just the beginning of the story, as James said before, and we have just to be focused on it, to forget about the world around us and to work as a team. But this, honestly, that when he's into the briefing room, he's fully focused on the objective and he knows perfectly the job, and he has to build up the relationship with the team, and this is not a long process, but it's a process that we have to follow, and we are on this path. But honestly, that we don't have to expect too much for the first session. It's not the target. That we know that we have a long way, and honestly, that we did a good step also, I think, compared to last year. And I have a good feeling. But
and does he look good in red?
I saw this morning a picture of Lewis in red last year in Abu Dhabi also. No, it looks good, no? But
different shade of red. All right, next one, please.
Adam Cooper, F1 for all three of you. The trailer for the Formula One movie was released today. What do you think of the footage you've seen over the last few months? What are your expectations for what the film will do for your sponsors and for the sport as a whole? And James, I think you filmed a cameo on the grid in Abu Dhabi. You're looking forward to seeing the result?
I suspect they've cut that from the film, For me, if you go and look what this has done, for example, an example would be Top Gun, and actually what it did in that example, it was enormous. Netflix has been transformative, and that's not just because they're filming over there in the corner. They really have transformed who we are as a sport and where we are today in the business, and we wouldn't be the business we are without them. My opinion is that the film will open us to a different market and a larger market as a result of it, and that's why we're all excited by it. And from all the trailers and the bits I've seen, that they have been, especially when you sit there and watch what they're doing with it, they've been doing everything to not make it look as though there's another gear that they've been missing or an accelerator you can push harder. they're fundamentally trying to replicate our sport in a film version, and that's what I connected to when they went through it.
I'm sorry, but I don't know why they are asking like this kind of stupid questions. Like it's just in a film, and I think it's more interesting to watch the real sport, to watch that movie for they're making for the Formula One. There is a lot of questions maybe to ask, but the journalists, as always, they are just asking stupid questions. Let's continue and to hear what kind of stupid questions we will hear.
As James said, I think that I'm really convinced that Netflix helped us a lot over the last years. That if you come back to 2018, 19, F1 was absolutely not in the same shape. And Netflix helped us a lot in this journey. And I hope that this movie will be exactly the same story, because it's the best way for us to attract people to the F1 who are not focused on the F1 today. It's a new audience with much more female, much younger, and the same as what we had with Netflix. And this is the target. On the quality of the scene that I saw so far, it was something magic that it's good.
I agree with these two chaps. I think the work that Netflix has done has made these two celebrities. I think when we look at the O2 launch as well, a different style of event, a different way of reaching people. So events, entertainment in addition to the 24 races that we have, provides that opportunity to reach a different, broader cross-section of people. And it's the business that we're in. And so, yeah, completely support it.
Andy, just specifically on the film?
I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think there's a preview coming up that we're all going to go along and watch.
Okay, speak to you after that. All right, next one, please.
Riley Sullivan, Maxim Australia. Fred, you have Zhou Guanyu as your reserve driver at the moment. How important is it having a Chinese driver in the sport, especially ahead of the Chinese Grand Prix? And is the role of the reserve driver becoming more front-facing?
You can call him reserve or development or whatever. That the issue that we have today is that we have a couple of good guys. They are also involved on the wake. It means that when we have a race on the wake, we have nobody into the simulator. It was that the main reason for us to take Joe. I know Joe perfectly because he was with me at Alfa Romeo before, and he's an experienced one that he did 3 or 4 seasons with these tires, and for sure for us, it's an asset on the development.
Thank you, Fred. Who's next? Yep.
Diletta Colombo, Automato. A question for Fred. Lewis' acclimatation process with Ferrari is inevitably complex, but how close is he to getting to the limit of the car at the moment, in your opinion?
It's not that to be at the limit on one session, that it's not a matter of speed. The target is for him to know everybody into the team, to discover the software, the process, the system. That I think I'm really convinced that we have something very similar to Mercedes, but at the end of the day, perhaps not with the same name or the same way to use them, and it's just a learning process. But we did 1 or 2 test days with the TPC 1 month or 2 months ago. It was the good way to approach it, but nothing compared to the race weekend. That means that we have to go through and we have to do it, but I'm not worried at all about this.
Okay, thanks. Next one.
Phil Duncan, PA. Question for Fred. Just on Lewis, Fred, do you think it will take a little while for him to get up to speed or to be on Charles's pace? I mean, obviously it was only first practice, but he was a little bit behind. And obviously just for the reasons you spoke about there in terms of adjusting to a new team, that it might take him a little while to be on Charles's pace.
I don't know what I have to answer more than what I did before. That he's on this process. Honestly, that you can't draw a conclusion after a first session. I have absolutely no doubt that he will be able to perform and to perform soon. And last year I think that Carlos was P8 or P9 in free practice and he won the race.
Thanks, Fred. All right, next one. Michael Doyle, ABC Sport. I have a question for Andy. You touched on earlier that Adrian Newey is already looking at the next year's regulations. As a team principal, can you describe the balancing act between making sure you have a competitive car this year, but also start next year on the front foot with a really good challenger?
Yeah, that's a great question, and something that we're all balancing up. We've got 24 races in this year's championship. We all want to develop our cars, and we've got a new regulation set for next year with different aerodynamics, different powertrains, different fuels, and how do you balance that up in a world where there's a cost cap and there's aero restrictions in CFD and in the wind tunnel? So we've all got to take our judgment and work out what to do. Adrian joining brings a huge amount of experience and a great competitive mindset. And the choice that we've made at the moment is that Adrian's working on the 2026 car. He's putting a lot of effort into that and understanding that. Maybe when we've learnt where our car is, its strengths, its weaknesses, in the opening few races, he'll help come up with the odd development tweak for the 2025 car. But we're a team where we've got a new wind tunnel. We've got lots of other equipment within the factory, and we're trying to develop and build those tools so that they all fit together and build the team spirit, so that we're focused on creating the fastest race car we possibly can.
Andy, will the date that you switch to 26 be influenced by 2025's Constructors' Championship position?
I think for all three of us sat here on the sofa, the answer is yes to that. I think it depends where you are. If you're leading the championship, you put effort into winning the championship that you're in. And the viewpoint changes as you go down. We've got that. We've got new regulations, and we're taking the step to being a works team where we're creating all of the components ourselves and developing the power unit with Honda and sustainable fuels with Aramco. So there's a big jobs list to work on. Huge amount of effort going into it, lots of enthusiasm, great team spirit. But that's our challenge, and I guess everybody's in a slightly different position.
Thank you for that. Next one. Where are we going?
Question to Fred. Rodrigo França, Car Magazine Brazil. Fred, Lewis raced all his career in a British and a German team, so it's a long time for him to racing in teams that are different with the mentality of Ferrari. So how do you think he's adapting to the Italian way of racing, dealing with tifosi, the food, the life in Italy, in Maranello? Thank you.
In F3 and F2, he was with the French team. No, I'm not sure that it's a drama to adapt yourself to the Italian food when you are coming from UK.
Fred is always trying to be funny, and he's funny. Also one more stupid question to adapt Italian foods and blah blah blah, something like that. I don't know why they are doing like this. Why exactly on this press conference? Just they are asking like a lot of stupid questions. Just look at the Vasseur's look to the James Vowles. Let's continue to watch it.
I agree. I'm going to regret that one.
All right, next one.
Roger Byron from Beyond the Racing Line. James, how concerned are you about falling behind in the facilities race with Aston Martin's new wind tunnel going online? High-tech facilities. How are you concerned about your facilities going forward?
We fell behind 15 years ago. So it's not a question of now. We've been investing, as Aston have been investing as well, and McLaren have been investing for the last few years. So the point of that investment is to try and stem where we have been and create a new future. Wind tunnel, without question, Aston's will be benchmark, but I'm comfortable with that. Where we are in wind tunnel, I think, is, let's see where we are, but we are moving slowly up the grid, which is an indication we're probably using our facilities fairly well. So in that regard, I think we're okay. Where we have other issues is elsewhere within the infrastructure of the organisation, but we have plans in place to rectify that across the next years. It's something that you do overnight. So it's different to what you're saying. It's not so much falling behind. We're already on that investment pathway.
Okay, thank you, James. Next. Yeah, back to Adam.
Adam Cooper, F1. For all three of you, the Cadillac entry was confirmed last week after all the fuss over the last year and a bit. What are your thoughts on the pros and cons of competing with an 11th team on and off the track? What can General Motors bring to Formula One? And obviously, Fred, you're in a slightly different position as a supplier. Maybe you can tell us a bit how that part is developing.
Fred, why don't we start with you?
To have I think we have to avoid to be arrogant. The car manufacturer world is going in a tough direction, probably. And if you remind pretty well the journey of 2008 and so, that it was brilliant, and in 2 or 3 days it switched completely. It means that to have, for me, another OEM on board, it's a good news. It's an American one, it's another good news. But now it's a bit early to consider them as an OEM because they will join the championship as engine manufacturer in at the end of this regulation. But I think it's a good news as long as the team is structured, solid, and so. And I think it's the case today that we have good relationship with them. They are doing a good job and they are taking it seriously. And for sure, it's a challenge because that, as James said before, that for teams already on the grid, sometimes it's not easy. It's not easy to be competitive. You can imagine that when you start from scratch, that it's a huge challenge, but everything is possible.
Andy?
Yeah, it's great for the sport, isn't it? As Fred says, having Cadillac, General Motors coming into the sport, deciding that this is the environment they want to compete in. It's testament to the growth and success of Formula One. So yeah, looking forward to it, and to have 2 more cars on the grid, 22 cars will be good for the spectacle and good for the fans. So yeah, looking forward to competing against them.
I think it's well summarised. The facts are that it is a big market, it's a big brand, and it will bring elements to the sport we don't have today. Simple as that. What happens in our past, now we move on and we fight them on track.
All right, thanks all. Back to the front, Ian.
Ian Parks, Racing News. Oh, yeah. Ian Parks, Racing News 365. Sorry for the breakup. My question is also on Cadillac. Initially, when the entry was announced, it was going to be Andretti, and there was a lot of pushback at the time, in particular with regard to the likely dilution of prize money. So where do you stand now that there will definitely be an 11th team? Bearing in mind the prize money pie will be 11 slices and not 10. And did you have a say in, and are you happy with the anti-dilution fee that Cadillac has ultimately been forced to pay to enter F1? Thank you. That's to anybody who would like to answer.
James, give us your thoughts.
As I sort of mentioned a second ago, what's happened is now behind us. Ultimately, it's down to Formula One to manage the entry and the teams in that regard. And part of that gets contained in a future Concord. But my opinion of it is what it is ultimately. The difference to Andretti, to be really clear, is GM and Cadillac are major brands that bring with them huge amounts of accolade. And I think with them will bring the sport into a better place and more sponsorship that's involved with it. So just to explain the differential between what is Andretti and what is GM Cadillac, it always has complications. It's less so about actually the dilution. It's more that within the UK, I think you're now going to get 9 teams in a different form. So I think it will only be Ferrari that doesn't really have some sort of base in the UK. And the biggest thing is you have some really great talent, and GM are doing a good job of attracting it. So it's that's probably more of a bigger issue than anything else.
Okay. Either of you two?
It's what we said before. Really, it's great for the sport. GM, Cadillac. It's a good news story, and let's just move forward. Let's look forward to competing with them. And big base in the UK. It's good for all the graduates that are coming out of motorsport degrees in the UK. They're going to get sucked up by all these teams that are growing.
Okay, thanks both. Fred, sorry, you want to say something?
It looked like Fred wanted to say something. No? Okay, I'm just checking.
You look keen. You want to? Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Good luck for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, thank you all to watching this press conference with us. I just want to comment in some points. The question was like why they said no to Andretti, but they said yes to General Motors and Cadillac. The reason is so clear. I think there is money factor. They have more money than the Andretti, and the bigger money, a lot of sponsors, and the 11th team. They think I think it will be very interesting to see on a sport, and as it was most interesting part of for me that they had a question to Fred Vasseur about Lewis Hamilton, why he was like he's not pushing something like that, or he just finished the 12th 13th position at the FP1, and his answer, I think it was best answer of the press conference. Like he said, Carlos Sainz last year was at the 7th position here, but he won the race, and I think that was the answer of many questions that were asking about Lewis Hamilton on this press conference, and also on the other interviews. Let's say, if you have many thoughts about this press conference, any comments, just don't forget to comment it, like the video, and subscribe to the channel.